So, yeah, it's been a while. I won't make excuses for not making videos. Life's been busy, family and life take precedent. That's been about what it is, but here we are making this one now. I've been thinking about making them a lot, so let's actually just do it. So, in between things, I've been driving the car a lot, enjoying it. I think I've only made one video since we moved out to California, but it's been great so far. And so, been enjoying the car, but in between things, still doing my routine washes and all of that. I have an old video on the channel where I showed how I washed the car when we were living in an apartment in Kansas City. Check that out if you want. I'll put a link to that. But since we're in a house, I've got my pressure washer, I've got a bunch of stuff here, and washing the car here. So my process is a little bit different, but it's generally mostly the same. I've been doing a 3-bucket method for a while. Problem is, and like when it comes to motivation and finding time, it's a lot of cleanup and it's a lot of tear down at the end of the wash. So again, 3 buckets, pressure washer, all of that, pulling the hose in and out. You know, it's a little more than a trivial effort, and I'm just trying to like reduce things and make it a little bit simpler. Over the holidays, we did a 2-day each way road trip home to visit family in Missouri. And on that drive, I'm catching up on podcasts, and I'm listening to the Smoking Tire podcast. And there's an episode where he's interviewing Larry Kosilla from Ammo NYC, and they're talking about their processes with washing cars a little bit. They're just kind of hitting on like, hey, I've gotten a little bit lazy with some of this stuff, and they're talking about how they've stopped using like a rinse bucket and they've just started throwing a bunch of microfiber towels in one bucket, using them and then setting them to the side. So I figured, you know what, I need to wash the car now that we've been back for a couple weeks. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. And what that means for me is 1 less bucket to set up, and then 1 less bucket to inevitably splash all over my feet when I dump it out at the end of the wash. So I filmed a little bit of that, and here's basically what the process ended up being this time around. 1, I'm gonna grab a wash bucket, fill that up almost all the way with water, and then put some soap in that. I'm gonna do almost the exact same thing again, but this bucket's gonna be for the wheels. Go ahead and set the original wash bucket aside, because the first thing I do is wash the wheels every time. So step 1 is prepping those buckets. Step 2, I'm gonna go around, I'm gonna wash the wheels. Step 3, in my case I have a pressure washer, so I'm gonna use the foam cannon and I'm gonna foam down the whole car. Let that kind of sit for a second while I go ahead and grab the microfiber towels, throw them in that wash bucket that I set aside after the first step, that's just car wash soap in a bucket with some grit guards. 4th step, I'm gonna grab that bucket. I figured about 7 microfiber towels that I threw in it. Back in the day, I bought in bulk just a bunch of these towels, and so I've got these almost all-purpose, kind of my default towel that I use, and I went through a bag, opened one of these bags, and washed several of them just to make sure that that dye doesn't stain, and threw those in a bucket. So here's really the unique part of this process, other than the 1 bucket that I didn't prep up front. You've got this bucket that's now got a bunch of towels in it. So again, the car's already pre-foamed. You're gonna grab one of those towels out, try to make sure you get a bunch of soap on it up front, because that towel is never going back in that bucket again. That's the kind of key time-saving part of this process. So now go ahead and take that towel, fold it into squares, and in my case, I used 1 towel for about 2 panels of the car. So you can think about that like 2 doors for 1 towel. 1 side for each door, or each panel effectively. And so you've folded it up, you do the 1 side, you flip it over, you're gonna use the other side, etc. And you're gonna keep doing that until you've fully used the towel, or you've used it as much as you feel like you want to for those panels. So again, in my case, I went around and I counted the panels on the car. Don't remember how I did it, it wasn't very scientific. I ended up at something like 14. Halved that number just because 2 sides to a towel, and went from there. So you do your panel, you finish, and then you toss that towel to the side. In my case, I took the bucket that I used to use to rinse in, and I just set that to the side to grab these used towels. And really the time-saving piece of this is you're not taking your wash mitt, going over to the rinse bucket, wringing it out before you put it in the bucket, rinsing it, scrubbing it on the grit guard in the bottom of your rinse bucket, and then wringing it out again before you then dunk it back into your initial bucket. In theory, this is better for the paint and you're introducing fewer contaminants into the wash bucket in the first place, therefore using fewer contaminants as you wash the car. That to me is a nice side effect. This is really for me about saving time. I mean, I care about washing the car well, but at a certain point there are like optimizations that I don't care to make unless it's going to save me time or benefit me in some other way. So I went ahead and did this around the whole car, used exactly the 7 towels, and honestly I feel like I did a great job. It was pretty obvious how much time I saved not having to go through that process every time I washed a panel of rinsing everything out, like I said. And I'm probably going to continue just doing this going forward. I'll let you guys know if that changes. Let me know if you're interested in seeing a more thorough process video, but all I'm doing is stealing ideas from people who are smarter and more experienced than I am. I just figured I'd share this one detail because I thought it was cool to hear it on the podcast and hear about how it could save me time. It's nothing new. This is, I think, effectively the Gary Dean method, but instead of using a rinseless wash, I'm just using these single towels in my normal, what would have been 2-bucket method with a pressure washer up front. And yeah, it worked out great for me. I went around and sprayed the car off at the end too. And then I went ahead and went through my whole drying process. So I didn't save any time there, but saving a little bit of time, especially like on a cooler night, is really appreciated, and you're keeping your hand out of the water more than it needs to be. So in cooler climates, or if you're washing at night, yeah, it's nice. So that's it. First video of 2023 is down. I'll get into other like more Alfa Romeo specific stuff, more Quattrofolio specific stuff. I'm coming up on 3 years with the car. I've got ideas for videos. I've been keeping notes and stuff, and so I'm gonna try to get back into it. Won't make any promises because I feel like if I overcommit to that stuff, it's not gonna happen. But you guys should know that every time I don't make a video, I am still thinking about how I need to get back to it. This is a lot of fun for me, and I see the subscribers going up while I'm not doing anything, and I feel like I'm kind of letting you guys down because there's a lot that I could share about this car that I just haven't found the time to sit down and do. Hopefully this new format of videos where I film some things up front and then I come back and talk about them static to a camera like this is going to be helpful and make it easier for me to make videos. And you guys let me know what you want to see. Because honestly, like, I know what it's like to have this car and drive it. I don't know what questions other people have about them. I've kind of been blind to that since I've been out of the market on this car for a few years now. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing if you have. If you haven't, come back and see if it's worth it on the next video. And yeah, thank you guys. See you in the next one.